what are some of the things that really helped benefit you during that swimming? Like, obviously nutrition, recovery, and that kind of stuff. But what are some of the other key things that you took with you into the pool that helped you out?
Are you asking like how some of the things transferred from my swimming career into training for the military?
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, that is a really crappy question I just asked you. so like I'm still working on my Joe Rogan interviews here, but yeah, that kind of thing. Like, what did you work on? Like, if I were going into the pool and I'm a potential candidate, like, what are some of the top 2 or 3 basic things that I can work on that will help me like foundationally improve?
Number 1, treading. Just because you're a really great swimmer, just because I'm a great swimmer does not make me good at treading. Like that was nothing I did ever wanted to do. The leg movement, breaststroke was my worst stroke. I think I almost went backwards. Like, so that movement of just treading was something I definitely had to work on as I was training for it. Making sure your stroke is good. One thing I saw a lot was dropping of the elbows, right? So, obviously that comes second nature to me because of my swimming background, but as someone who is not necessarily like physically inclined in the water, dropping your elbows, losing like all your power from your arm and not fully engaging and using it as sort of like an oar, right? So when you drop your elbow, all you're using is your hand. A lot of people don't realize you can use your entire arm to propel yourself through the water. And if you work on that with freestyle, underwaters, right? So that pull out movement, a lot of dudes drop their elbows with that. That's the biggest thing I saw.
Dude, can you do your underwater demonstration real quick? Because when you did this on the pool deck, it changed my life. And one of the high points of my entire life is when I did an underwater after taking your advice, and you were like, you have really good form on your underwaters. And I was like, thanks, man. I've been doing this wrong for like 15 years, and like one pool session with you, and you explained it, and it like clicked in my brain, and my underwaters got way better, like pretty deep in my career. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to shake the cobwebs off on this one.
Yes. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I was actually kind of hoping that you would ask the same thing. Like, well, shit, I've been doing 12 to 15 strokes to get across the pool. That's probably not very efficient. In fact, I know it's not efficient. So yeah, if you can demonstrate, that'd be amazing.
Okay. Well, I'll try. As you pull up, right? What a lot of people want to teach at first is the hourglass, right? You don't want to do that. So you pitching your elbows up so that you're thinking about getting out of the pool, right? So when you get out of the pool, you're not going to drop your elbows so that you come down and you kind of look like a cat drinking milk. You know what I mean? So you're going to keep your elbows up to lift yourself out. That's what that's going to do is it's going to help you use your hands, your forearms, and as well as your upper part of your arm to engage and use as a paddle. And as you're coming down, you're going to come all the way through and you're going to push through and follow the natural arm movement, not necessarily following the hourglass movement, because from moving water, it just doesn't make sense to like bring your hands in and do this thing, go in and out. Like it just.
So not the keyhole, not doing a keyhole.
Or the keyhole, the keyhole stroke. Like it doesn't make sense to go out and then come back in. What you need to do, you need to push water back from exactly like where you need to go. So you're not going to push out because you're not going in. So, and you're not going to bring your hands back in towards the center of your body because you're just wasting energy. The biggest
now I got to go get in the pool.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just imagine like you're lifting yourself up out of the pool and you're pushing down. That's the easiest way for me that I saw a lot of dudes have it click in their head with getting their form down with underwaters.
What about the kick?
Man, so the kick, like I said, I'm not real good on the breaststroke kick. So I kind of alternated in between sort of like a weird sideways scissor kick while keeping my chest flat. A scissor kick was super powerful. It's kind of like a underwater creature with that. But
no, I mean my like, no kidding. The whole breaststroke kick or the frog kick or whatever is mine is super weak. And in fact, I would argue that most of my underwater and my freestyle is all arms, which is, from what I've been told, is not great because it's more tiring and it's less efficient, at least from what I've been told. But like I'm guilty of that too. So
the thing is it's weird, right? When you're training for something like this, you don't necessarily need to have an incredibly strong kick. You just need to have a kick that's efficient enough to keep your hips up towards the surface so that you stay flat through the water. What I see a lot of guys doing is they don't have a strong kick and they also don't engage their abs, which causes them to sink down and swim almost at a 45-degree angle through the water. You kind of want to be like I don't know if anybody here, is a bass fisherman or a fisherman of any kind, but like you imagine like you want to get up on plane, like when the boat starts to flatten out. That's the most efficient way you're going to swim through the water. So as long as you keep your hips up towards the surface, have a decently strong kick, and an efficient stroke, you're going to be fine.
For those people out there that don't have an efficient stroke, they don't have any good kicks. Are there any good programs that you have? Because we get asked a couple questions all the time, right? We're just going to hit you with FAQs now, right? And the first one that we always get is, hey, I'm a terrible swimmer and I want to get better, but I don't have any coaches around me or I can't afford it. Or do you know of any free online programs? Do you know of anywhere where they can go to really get better with some online coaching?
So on YouTube, there's Speedo has a bunch of cool videos that we use in the prep course that show Ryan Lochte and Michael Phelps doing their stroke. Even though you can break it down and just absorb the breaststroke kick portion of it or the freestyle. But another good program, I think it's called Immersion, and they specifically talk about combat side stroke, and as well as freestyle, and that really breaks it down in terms of like a non-swimmer being able to understand it, right? So like when I was at prep, we would show the video of the Speedo guys, but then I would break it down so that it wasn't, just some guy with a cool voice talking about how smooth Ryan Lochte's stroke is,
That had to be a nice break of the day for the students, though, is to have somebody with a nice, deep, velvety voice telling them about the keyhole stroke. That's got to be great.
Yeah, and then they got my, toucan sounding face coming up here.
You're doing great, baby Jeb. The other question that we get is, hey, because of COVID or because of, staffing shortages or whatever, I can't get to the pool. And I'm sure you guys dealt with this, you've been living that life all the way through the pipeline. And what's some advice you would give to somebody? Hey, I can't get to a pool. I can't get in and actually do some swimming. What are some drills that I can do? What are some cardio things that I can do that'll help me become a better swimmer, even if I'm not technically in the water?
Oh, man. So just building up those muscles, I would say one of the things we did was you get some surgical tubing, put some handles with like a grommet on there, tie a knot through it, tie it to like your garage door or something like that, and just kind of see yourself working through the stroke. And then instead of doing it just like with only your hands, you can feel what it's like to have resistance. The surgical tubing, I think, makes a huge difference. That's the number one thing that comes to my mind if you can't get to a pool.
Dang, I didn't even think about that, because you're actually working on the stroke and feeling the resistance, stuff like that. Like what I've been saying, right, wrong, or indifferent, is just like, because most people are worried about their aerobic capacity or their cardiovascular capacity with the swimming. Because I mean, even now I could be in the most shape I can possibly be in, and I go at the beginning of a 1,500 meter swim or something like that. Those first 200 hurt really bad until I find that. Yeah, it's terrible until I find that breathing rhythm, and get my heart rate stabilized. But like I've always been telling people, hey, if you can't get to a pool, like you absolutely cannot go out and run or bike or do whatever to increase your cardiovascular level, and then also like kind of free diving apps to help breath holds. But that's not necessarily for swimming. That's more for water con type thing.
Right. Yeah, there's the with swimming, I mean, like you said, you can be super physically fit. You can run multiple 6-minute miles or whatever. And then guys say like, oh, well, my cardiovascular base is not strong enough for swimming. It's like, that's not the case at all. It's all about efficiency in the water. I mean, when you watch Phelps swim, he makes it look easy, right? And that's because he is so efficient. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And you can switch it back the other way, right? Most swimmers are not land animals. So when they run, their knees are knocking together and they're like, oh, I can't run. My cardiovascular level's not good for running. It's like, it's because you run like a baby horse that, is learning how to walk.
Nice.
It has nothing to do with your cardiovascular system. You look ridiculous.
So I'm completely wrong when I say that. That's fine.
That's totally okay.
A lot of it does have to do with warming up, right? So I'm the same way. If I want to get in and swim, it takes me a while to like loosen up my shoulders. And then, like I said, I'm not a land mammal. So it takes me, if I want to run, I got to expect like a freaking 1.5 mile long warm up, which is like the worst because, by the end of that, you're like, man, I'm done. Being controller is like, all we want to do is ruck. Well, I don't want to ruck.
How would I run?